Hello, this is Todd Luck. So a little over a week ago, Hollywood Reporter finally reported that the rights to make a Tarzan movie were now over at Sony, and so every entertainment website in the universe basically repeated that information in their own article. If you've been watching my channel, you may know that I already did a video about this back in July. That's when Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated announced this at San Diego Comic-Con, and they also posted it on Facebook. And so as you can see in the announcement, they did sign an option agreement with Columbia Pictures, which is a subsidiary of Sony. And so yes, it's a very long way between July and October for Hollywood Reporter to realize this. I was a reporter for 13 years, and my guess would be that they probably were just having a conversation with someone about what's going on in the movie industry or what's going on at Sony, and this just came up in conversation. They hadn't heard about it, and they were like, oh my gosh, we can do an exclusive article. And that's probably how this came about. There's really no new information in this article we didn't already know from the announcement in July. But what I'm seeing on the internet is some folks who are posting things that simply are not true. They're looking at these articles and claiming that they talk about what is going to be in the movie or what type of movie it's going to be, and that is simply not true at all. And so I just wanted to do a quick video briefly going over what little is in the article and just talking about the facts. But before we do that, I just want to say that if you're a fan of Tarzan or you're a reporter who would like to know about this stuff when it's announced as opposed to several months later when Hollywood Reporter does an exclusive article about it, I highly recommend following Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated on Facebook. They are the owners of Tarzan, John Carter of Mars, and other Edgar Rice Burroughs properties, and they are an active company that puts out novels and comic books and merchandise like this cool t-shirt that you can buy on their Amazon store. But of course, they also handle all the licensing for Tarzan. So if you're interested in what is happening in that franchise, Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated is a good company to follow. So let's talk about that exclusive article. So there were really only 4 sentences of actual news in that article, and the rest was just background and analysis. So I'm just going to briefly read those 4 short sentences to you really quickly here. You can follow along. Tarzan, the classic pulp hero created by Edgar Rice Burroughs, may be heading to the screen once again. Sony Pictures has picked up the screen rights to the character from Burroughs' estate, Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, and is seeking to do a total reinvention of the character and intellectual property. No writer, filmmaker, or producer are attached, as the studio looks for a top-down reimagining of the ape-man for audiences in this time and space of the 21st century. Sony had no comment. So this is very standard movie option language that really doesn't say a whole lot, but I'm going to break it down real quick. So it says total reinvention of the property because that's basically the way we do adaptions in America. Every time you start a new TV series or a new series of movies, it's always a new version of that character and that property. And because we haven't had a sequel to any Tarzan movie released in the last 40 years, every single Tarzan movie we have had has been a reinvention of Tarzan. So that was true of Greystoke, that was true of Disney Tarzan, that's true of Tarzan and the Lost City, that was true of Legend of Tarzan. Every single one of these is a new version of Tarzan. If there is a movie that is put out and Sony decides to do a sequel to it, that will be the first Tarzan movie in my lifetime that is not a reinvention of the character. And so it also says there will be a reimagining of the character for audiences in this time and space of the 21st century. Now, that is absolutely bizarre phrasing, but if you translate it into English, it basically means they're going to reinvent the character so it appeals to modern audiences. And that is basically the way every single Tarzan movie has been since 1918, right? Since the very first Tarzan movie, they've all been made to appeal to modern audiences. That's how you make a movie. You always want it to appeal to the audience that's going to see it. I'm not sure why the reporter decided to say that it will appeal to people in this time and space in the 21st century. I'm not sure what that and space means. Is it not getting released on other planets? Is there not going to be a premiere on Barsoom? So anyway, to sum up the article, All it says is that Sony, or a subsidiary of Sony, has the rights to do a Tarzan movie, and no one is attached to the project yet. Period. End of story. That is it. That is the only information in this article. There is no information about what type of movie it will be, what will be in the movie, when the movie will be set. None of that. Most likely, none of that even exists. Probably the concept of even what this movie will be doesn't even exist yet. Anyone who is posting about, it's going to be set in modern times or it's going to be like this or that is just dead wrong. I mean, certainly it is possible it could be set in modern times. That's been done with quite a few different Tarzan movies over the years, but, that is not what this article says. These decisions simply have not been made yet. There is no movie to report about. There is probably not even a concept of a movie at this point. They're still working on that, and it could be many, many years before they come up with anything concrete that they can actually make into a movie. You got to remember, it was 17 years between Disney Tarzan and Legend of Tarzan. These things can take a long, long time. And so I'm not going to sit here and debunk every false comment and rumor I'm seeing being spread online. Just know that they're all wrong if it's anything beyond a company has the rights to make a Tarzan movie. It's all wrong, right? It's all just guesses, it's all just speculation, or sometimes lies. And you have to remember, in the climate that we're in, any major pop culture project is going to have a lot of false information and misinformation spread about it. And so if you're interested in reliable information, again, I recommend looking at the people working on the property or turning to articles written by reporters who have talked to those people working on the property. They are far more reliable sources than random people yelling on the internet. And whenever we get to a point where a movie is being made, and if there is some kind of widespread misinformation that is being propagated across the internet about it, I will certainly be making videos to directly address it and drop some facts. And so I wanted to end this video with just a little bit of new information. So I was looking to try to find a video of the actual announcement from San Diego Comic-Con. It was made at a panel by Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. And unfortunately, the only video I can find only shows the first part of it that has a wonderful interview with Wolf Larson and then ends right in the middle of the announcement. However, what I was able to get was a little bit of an anecdote about why Warner Brothers lost the rights to do Tarzan. They put out, of course, Legend of Tarzan, and what happened was they had a contract that said they needed to put out a sequel in so many years, and they got bought out by AT&T, and the folks there decided that the $356 million that movie made was not enough. It needed to make $500 million in order to justify a sequel, and so the rights reverted back to Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc., and they had a couple studios who wanted it, and of course it ended up at Columbia Pictures. And it got me thinking about that $356 million, right? That is just a few $1,000,000 short of being twice the movie's budget, right? That's a pretty good chunk of change. And look, I have no idea if that's good or bad as far as Hollywood goes. The expectations of these things is just always mystifying to me. But what I will say is $356 million means a whole lot of people saw that movie. And that is really good considering that is a new franchise with almost a complete cold opening, right? Tarzan had been absent from the mainstream for many years, right? There was nothing going on with the franchise at that point other than that movie. There hadn't been a movie on the big screen in America in 17 years. So for most people, it was a dormant or dead franchise, and people still went out to see that, and that speaks to the strength of that character, that people remember it from those older works, and just the appeal of the character and what you can do if you put proper marketing and get you a A-list actor as a co-star with Samuel L. Jackson and make a good movie. But imagine, if you will, if Tarzan wasn't a dormant franchise and you released a movie, right? We got a comic book series, the first ongoing regular comic series in 20-some years, coming out in November, right? We've all got 2 figures that you can order on like places like Big Bad Toy Store and stuff, right? Imagine if that keeps going, right? Imagine we get Tarzan back in the mainstream. Imagine we get merchandise and collectibles and games and a streaming series and all that stuff that you expect from active franchises. We get Tarzan back into the collective consciousness again as an active franchise, and then you release a movie. I think that $356 million is just the beginning. And so while no one knows what's going to happen with the Tarzan movie, I am very optimistic about the franchise overall, and I do look forward to seeing what happens with Tarzan in the future. All right, guys, like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, see ya.